Oh, hey, the lads, guys. Welcome back to the Irish Mag podcast. Today, I have another one of my best friends with me. This time, he's not a Scouser. He's arguably worse. That's up for debate. He's a Manchester fan, Manchester United fan. And his name is Jordan. How are you, sir?
Well, what's crack? Good to be here.
Oh, is it? Oh, he's still a better introduction than Tim's. Um, how's you?
Grand, yeah, all good. I just want to rephrase that though. Are a bit worse than United fans, but we'll say nothing.
Well, excuse me. Well, you're on the same level of glory hunting bastards, and you know, you think you're better than everybody else. But sure, we're not getting into that debate, not yet, anyway.
Alright.
But yes, so as I say, Jordan's one of my best friends in that circle. Unfortunately, I tried to get rid of him a couple of years ago. Didn't really work out for me either. Um, so Jordan, just going to give the viewers, as you know, a brief description of mainly when did you fall in love with United, how you fell in love with United, and why you fell in love with United out of all teams, even though you're probably just glory hunting.
Oh yeah. Well, I knew the glory hunt was coming, so we'll get past that straight away. But yeah, I mean, same as reasons anybody really is. You follow the team that your family supports, don't you? So I asked my dad the exact same question why he supports Man United, and he used to be actually a Nottingham Forest supporter back in the 70s. So we're talking a long, long time ago here. This is like pre-Fergie area. And
Yeah.
he watched the game, an FA Cup game against Arsenal, and he said like United played amazing, but they still got beat by Arsenal. He started supporting them then. So I started growing up. Dad trying to get me to watch football, so I started watching it. I think the first season I started properly watching football was 06, 07.
Geez, that was when
Um,
Ronaldo came on. The start of Ronaldo.
no, Ronaldo's been since 2003 or 3 or 4. He started on. He's been there since. Well, he was there since.
Did he? Well, he must have left. What did that do? He won the Champions League. Am I thinking of
No,
it?
no. This was the year before, I think. Like, I was a casual fan before that, and I would like watch the odd game here and there, but then that's when I really started to watch football. Do you remember the kit with the gold badge? And it was actually
Yes,
early on. It was
yes,
actually
yes. That's right. That was right. Yes. Well, so it mainly is, as you know, there's always parents or some sort of family influence to get you into the game of some sort. So I was the same. I was actually an Arsenal fan, and then I got beaten into a Newcastle fan. So probably an upgrade. Um, but
yeah, definitely.
yeah. So the next sort of thing, as I say, because it's a dad, have you, your father, ever been to like live games away, home or away, so at Old Trafford or at any sort of away games, for example, St James's or Anfield or whatever?
Yeah. So unlike Tim, that we fake supporter, he's actually been to Old Trafford. Not on field, even though he's Liverpool.
No, it's
So
pretty fun.
I'll say nothing. Yes, I have been to Old Trafford. I've only been to it once, unfortunately, which I would love to go back again, but there's just different reasons all the time.
Of
With
course.
COVID-19, everyone's going to blame that. So, I'll throw that in there too. But my first game was actually Avram Grant's first game. Jose Mourinho with Chelsea. So it was Old Trafford. It was 2000. Was that 2007 then? September 2007. That was the year we won the Champions League. Later that year, that
Who
was
was
the first.
who was playing?
We were playing Chelsea. It was Avram Grant's first game. Jose Mourinho had just been
Oh,
sacked.
Al Jose. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not win that game. It
So
was Fergie time.
yeah,
Like.
we won that game 2-0. Tevez and Luis Saha scored, and it was a great game. Like first ever game. What a time to fucking go. Like, cause
I know you. That is a great game to go like, because that's a title. Like, it's a title sort of fighting like, match to watch. Like, it's not like
yeah,
you're going to see, one of the teams that are always going to fight for relegation. Or that would have been a great game. Of that is that one. So in that game, like, can you describe? I know I can't describe yourself when you walk up in the terrace and you just see the pitch for the first time. It's something you really just can't explain. But if you could try and put it into emotions, how would you put it?
yeah. Exactly. As you say, I can't describe it. Like, as a young kid, I was like, I was only like 8 or 9 years old, and it just blew my mind. Like, I don't know. You'll see nothing like that ever again. It was just mind blowing, and the stadium itself, like, I don't care whoever you support or whatever it says, Old Trafford's one of the best stadiums in the world. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah, well it's the
absolutely
biggest, and it's the second
incredible.
biggest in England, the biggest in the Prem. Like, so it is. It's something. It's more the structure and how it's built out. You do always hear that it has got that for like the Fergie like aurora around it. So it does seem like quite a good stadium. I've never been obviously, but um. So first game was against Chelsea. Can you remember what you were doing and how you sort of celebrated the first goal when it went in? Do you
Well, yeah, I remember everything about it. I remember before, the pre-game and everything, watching the
the
players warm
pre-match?
up. And
Yeah,
I actually, I think me and my dad got there about an hour, 2 hours early, just because we were at the club, so that's just what time we got there at. But it was actually a nice wee time to get there because when we got there, to see everything, and then we went down to the front stands near beside the pitch, and was looking at the pitch and everything at the stadium, and then out walks Petr Cech and Carlo Pedicini, you know. So they're sitting there talking amongst themselves, and they come over and get some autographs. So I actually got Petr Cech's autograph that day, which was quite good for your first match, like, isn't it?
that's fucking brilliant. Like I didn't get nowhere near the players in the first match, or
Yeah,
nowhere near them.
I
That's
know.
so Petr Cech. Did you sell it on or anything?
I was in the pre-match books you get from like the Old Trafford store and everything, or whatever, St James's store, whatever you get.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was like we the books. Yes, yes.
It was on one of them, but I don't know where it's going for the life of me. I've lost it. Years ago, lost it. I had Petr Cech's Call of Chinese, and then I also had some Liverpool legend, like, but I don't know who he was because my dad knew who he was, but I didn't. I can't remember who he was. Like, wasn't a very
Just
big
going to
one.
they'd be worth a bit of money now. Like at the end of the day, that's how did you get checks? So obviously when they were walking into the stadium, was it?
No, there. I was inside the stadium at this point, and I was on beside the pitch, and they just happened to walk out and probably have a wee look around. Um, the way some players just go out under the pitch beforehand. They were the only two players that did that. So they went out and just got a feel for it probably and just started chatting amongst themselves. And then there was like, I think it was like 10 or 15 of us just sitting there, and they're like, "Want to give us a wee autograph, will you?" And I did.
Because we autograph that. Scribble your wee name down there.
It
That's
was
class.
funny because it was my dad who was getting the autograph, and he tried to find like the book of Petr Cech, and then I looked at it and it wasn't Petr Cech, it was Carvalho. We each turned the page to, so he signed
Oh,
Carvalho.
Ricardo. Carvalho was a big signing for Chelsea too when Mourinho was first. He was
Him
a
and
big
John
signing.
Terry were him and John Terry were solid partnership at that Chelsea defence, like, back in the time.
Yeah, he was brilliant. I remember that's right, because he was the main reason why Mourinho still has the defensive record. Him and JT.
I
That's
know.
right. But, like in regard would that be your earliest memory of United then in that sense? Was what if you were to look back now and think? Would you think earlier, like even what Tim had said, like watching football with home with your dad, or like sitting, or even was it at Old Trafford? Would that be the earliest memory of you from United sense, like at all?
Okay, no, I do remember. I do remember before that because I even remember the season before. I think we signed Carlos Tevez that season, and I remember the season before. He was turning up for West Ham, and he on the last day of the season, I think he scored against us, and then sure the next season he signed for us. So I did watch the games the season before, so I have a wee bit of a memory, but that Old Trafford game is the first real memory because Tevez scored that day.
Like you were,
We had her near post, Ryan Giggs cross, fantastic, and then I think Yassine actually got signed off or sent off that game, and that's how we get the penalty with Luis Saha.
see, your brain was quite good. I can barely remember my first game with St James's, and that was with my
Yeah,
fiance. Like so, that's really a couple of years ago. That's
aye.
scary. Um,
That's what I mean.
so
You never forget, like.
you do, you do, you never forget the first game. But so bringing it back then, so we'll talk the earliest memory that I can remember, which probably would have been obviously the Fergie era. As I say, I wouldn't have been a massive United fan because for glory hunting and obviously the history of Newcastle and United anyway. But um, let's talk Fergie era. So in my eyes, I think in 95% of professional football fans, or not professional, but football fans, Fergie is the best of all time. I don't think that's disputed. I don't think anybody can dispute it because he's won so much and he did so much and he had an influence on players. So let's bring it back to what would be your best Fergie memory in regard to not on the pitch with the players, but him on the stands, because I know I have one and it would have been actually, but I think it was this year or the year before he retired. So what would be your earliest memory of Fergie alone as a manager, not him on putting the players on the pitch?
My earliest memory of Fergie.
Yeah, so like him as a manager, like what he would have said in a press conference, or what he would have done in the stands, or what he would have done on the sideline, something like that. Instead of you go obviously there's plenty of memories. Even I can say that there's plenty of United teams that Fergie managed, and you could rant and rave about them for ages. But what would be the earliest memory of Fergie solo? Because I know mine would be the Chelsea where he was popping the blood and Mike Phelan popped the blood and Fergie told him to fuck off. Still find it hilarious to this day. But
That's a good one. I mean, it wouldn't be my earliest memory, but it's something that it's always so it's something that he said way back when he first joined United in the 1986 that I will always remember, and he fucking did it as well. He did what he said he was going to do. He said he's going to knock Liverpool off their fucking perch, and that's what he did. Like 20 Premier League
yeah, I
titles
noticed
later.
yeah, but that's mad. Like for a Premier League manager, it's hard to believe that he got sacked from St Mirren in Scotland and then had a bit of a rest period and then he got that United job. For me, it was always a bit frightening that way. But
Was he not
in
Aberdeen
your
before
opinion,
that?
was it Albert? I knew he got sacked from St Mirren. Did he? I thought he had a rest period and then he got the United job.
I don't really know obviously, but I know he was very successful with Aberdeen as well.
You could be right then there, if you, because I knew he got sacked from St Mirren and then he had a rest, and then I think he got the United job. So that's probably what it is. Actually, he probably went to Aberdeen and United. Probably makes sense actually. Um, So we'll talk on, as I say, we'll keep it more related to Fergie because it's sort of, well, it is only United's glory years now because, well,
Yeah.
we don't have any to cry about no more. But we'll bring it back to probably we'll get your best opinion on, obviously, excluding Ronaldo, but Fergie's best ever signing. Now, he's made hundreds. Obviously, excluding Ronaldo because, well, I would say Fergie's best signing was Ronaldo and keeping Ronaldo level down and keeping him hot, keeping him head ballooning was probably one of his best achievements because when Ronaldo won the Ballon d'Or, you could see he was looking bigger and better things. So I think Fergie keeping him that extra year was, my opinion, Fergie's probably one of Fergie's greatest ever achievements because to narrow that player down and knew in Madrid were calling for his signature. So what would be your opinion on Fergie's best signing other from probably, I would say, Ronaldo and Rooney because them two, not obviously
Yeah.
Rooney's United history. So if you were to exclude them two, who would you also put in that bracket as one of Fergie's best?
There's so many players you could put in that bracket. Like there's Eric Cantona, there's Roy Keane, there's Rio Ferdinand, there's Van der Sar, there's De Gea even, Robin van Persie. But the one I'm going to go for is Nemanja Vidic, signed from Spartak Moscow, January 2006 for I think it was like 6 million or 8 million or something. It's an absolute
The
bargain.
bargain. Yeah.
And he turned out to be one of our greatest ever centre backs. Like
Well, yeah, the debate that's currently up for it now was Van Dijk better than him, and I would probably agree with you in the sense that no, because I think Michael Ballack came out and said a good point is like Van
yeah,
Dijk's
I seen
not
that.
playing against the likes of Shearers, or Prime Rooney, or Van Nistelrooy. He's not playing against them players that torture the life out of him. So I think for me, Vidic did have them. I don't know if he played against. He probably did play maybe half a season against Shearer, but yeah, for me, I would agree in the sense that Vidic is probably for me still the best defender of this the Premier League. Him or JT. I don't think Van Dijk has that caliber yet.
I've
Other
seen
that he
some
has, well,
I've seen some recent articles stating that Rio Ferdinand was our best ever centre back, and you could obviously put him up there. Like, but I would still pick Vidic over him.
I would still pick Vidic because that man would literally. I think I remember a photo of him literally putting his head to the ball to block it. I think it was against Chelsea, quite ironically. Um, so it's like literally, if you don't get that in the defender nowadays, it literally will put their body on the line. I think that was like an old school defending sort of thing. So yeah, for me, I would definitely agree with the sense that Vidic was and still is, in my opinion, the best defender of this great Premier League because he was terrifying. He was hard to play against. He was a bully. He was big.
Blood and sweat
And
and
he
tears on
didn't
the pitch. Like,
literally. You don't get that. I don't think you get that with any footballer now. You plays with the badge and the heart more than the money. But that's football. It's all money now. So we'll sort of narrow it down then. So Vidic, I think what Vidic was. Yeah, would you not? I heard you say Van Persie there. Do you think Van Persie was one of Fergie's best? Like Van Persie only played what, like two,
yeah,
two, two
he
seasons?
played he played one season under Ferguson, but I mean, he signed up for one specific reason, and he did exactly what he set out to do. I think. There's obviously a
Oh,
lot of players who put over him because Van personally spent one season, but in that one season, like he won us back the title.
see that was the point. I was when you said it, I was like, really Van Persie? Because I only remember him being at United for one season. I didn't know if it was one or two, but
Well, he was
even I
he
was
was at
thinking,
United for a couple of seasons, but under Fergie he was one season.
The Fergie season where he scored, I'll never forget that wonder goal against Villa where Rooney pinged about a 40-yard ball and the first time on the volley.
I know.
It was
What a
school.
goal.
It was unbelievable. But I want to get I want to go elaborate more on that because like the players that you named, I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then when you said Van Persie, I was like, Van Persie? So why do you think I understand what you said that he literally left Arsenal to do what he said he was going to do, which was get a Premier League medal and the lift the Premier League trophy, which he did. But there has to like for the players that you put into that bracket was obviously Keno, you had Cantona, you had Rio. Like, there were four United players that were die hard for the badge. And as you say, I don't think Van Persie was die hard for United badge. I
No.
think he was obviously hard for the Premier League medal more than anything because for the years that he had at Arsenal. So just elaborate more on that. Why you would put Van Persie in that bracket because they were some major players. He was in the side, like.
Yeah, well, I remember when we signed Van Persie. I think we signed him at 29 years age, and
He was
he was in his prime, but he wasn't getting on, but he was getting older. You don't get younger, and I think we signed him for 27 million or something like that. Can't really remember, but I think Fergus.
Yeah, I had 25 or something in my head. It was in the 20s.
I think Fergus was. I remember Ferguson said at the time that he was overpaying for a bit for a 29-year-old, like, but then. Rival Arsenal, so we're expected to pay a bit more. But I mean, if you look at today's market, he would have cost about 60, 50 million nowadays, and we got him for like 20 something. And I always said when we bought him, if he does this one season, wins us back the title, and scores 30 goals or whatever, that's all I want. After that, he went downhill a bit, because we had David Moyes moved on and everything. But after just that one season, that's all I wanted. I wanted to get back at City because that season before, This,
The Aguero.
yep, that will live on in memory for the rest of my life.
Yeah, so that is something I wrote down here as well. So I just it's good to get the United fans sort of perspective because so as I say, some of the players you put in there were massive. So I wanted just to get your opinion. But I've really wrote down here noisy neighbours. So I know for myself, obviously watching football through the years, City were never the horse that they are now. Obviously, what was your opinion? Or how did you react? Obviously, when the Dubai owners, the Sheikhs, came in and bought City over and made them what they are today. As a United fan standpoint, in my opinion, is Manchester red anymore? It's quite debatable because of the football. People would probably want to go watch City play before they watch United. That's just due to what the football that City play. But to bring it back, how did you react when the Sheikhs came in and bought City and are now currently, and hopefully I can only say currently for a little bit longer, the richest owner in the Prem? How did you react?
I think it was 2007, 8 they got all that money in. So
Yeah, 2008 and
it took them a while to get running. And in fairness, I remember when they first got all that money, and I didn't really think much of it because you have to see what plays out first. And I think the first major signing was Rubinho, and he came to City and said I'm so glad to play for Chelsea. It just shows that that's what City's for. It's just the money. That's what the owners came in to do, is to get all that money and get them titles. It's not they've done that. But I remember years ago, you had. I remember that season Alano came and Alano was turning up for City. But after a while, it took them a while to get going because they signed players like Adebayor and Benjani from Portsmouth and Santa Cruz from Blackburn. All these players were doing really well for the clubs. When they got to City, it was almost like too much pressure for them, and they couldn't live it up. It wasn't until they got the Carlos Tevez's, the Agueros, the David Silvas, and all, and then they really started to kick on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree there because I know from, as I say, we'll get on to Newcastle later on, but that's sort of an issue that Newcastle seem to be going on with our takeover is if we're just going to try and follow City, and I know it's not going to be built in a day, but we'll discuss that at a later point. So when the Sheikhs came in, I don't think that it did, as you say. I think it took them 3 years to get running because Robinho was useless at City.
On loan days to Milan as well, I think the season after or something, season and a half.
Yeah, because he didn't because he complained that Manchester or England was too cold. So he was Brazilian, he spent most of his career in the sunny atmosphere. So the question I wanted to ask is if that had happened to United, that the Sheikhs came in. Now, obviously, you just don't really struggle. Well, you do struggle with money, but I don't think that the Glazers ever point that out that you're struggling with money. But if the Sheikhs were to come in and buy United, do you think Fergie's success would have been doubled or do you think he would? Do you basically what I'm saying? Do you think Fergie would have stayed on and doubled the success, or do you think that was Fergie retiring regardless of if money or Senate football or anything? Do you think he was going to retire that day?
Well, he was going to retire at the time he did.
Yeah. Do you think that with if the Sheiks were to buy United or any big billion like them sort of oil boys, if they were to come in and buy United, do you think Fergie would have been persuaded to stay on and dominate world football at that stage, or do you think at that time Fergie was done and he just wanted out of the sport?
No, I think it was for one because he also had like family issues and stuff, so he had to get out of that because of that. But I mean, he had already dominated world football for this is like he dominated the Premier League for about 20
Yeah,
years.
he dominated
He
England.
dominated England for about 20 years, and
Yeah.
then we did have two successful campaigns in Europe, winning them, and then we also made a couple of finals. But no, I don't think he would have stayed on. He did
Okay.
what he set out to achieve, and that was knock Liverpool off their perch, and that's what he did. You know, them Champions Leagues, of course, they probably would have wanted more, but I we could have probably won a couple more Champions Leagues, but you know, Paul Scholes put out a statement saying if Pep Guardiola's Barcelona wasn't about, then you know everyone else would have won a couple more Champions Leagues.
Oh well, yeah, that Pep Guardiola side, I think, is one of the greats, obviously. But funny enough, when you say that, second you said that it's not Wembley, we just got beat. I think it was 2-3 or
Yeah,
1.
we got beat at Wembley in
Um,
2000, and we got beaten in
yeah,
Rome.
and I remember that was when Messi started to really peak up and hit the world.
Yeah, he scored.
So you were fighting against a Messi that was, well, what he is. It's a Messi. But yeah, I remember that we had he scored. I actually can't remember who he beat in the air at that stage, or
It's,
was he behind Iggy? Was behind the shoulder of
yeah, he
Ferdinand, I
was
think.
behind Ferdinand. Ferdinand didn't mark him properly, or I don't know, he's probably marking someone else. But you know, he scored that bloody header, and his shoe bloody came off, and just the things he can do is
Yeah,
that's when he started getting
yeah.
really
So
good.
that is actually the next point. I'm glad we're talking about that. So the debate, as a United fan, CR7, Lionel Messi. Who would you pick? Who in your eyes is the greatest of all time?
I mean, just because I'm a United fan, I'm gonna be pretty biased, and obviously it's kind of always gonna say CR7.
Yeah, I would agree with CR7, as I say. So I've come on to that because we'll stay on Ronaldo. So as a lot of the United players have come out and said in this movie and in loads of documentaries, when United played the friendly against Lisbon, they signed him because he was ripping them to shreds. If you can remember that far, I don't think you could, but what's your earliest memory of Ronaldo in a United shirt?
I remember that. I didn't watch that preseason game. And I didn't follow football closely back then, but I remember that all the defenders. You know, John O'Shea at the time, Wes Bryant, Michael Sylvester come in and just said to Ferguson, "You have to sign him because he is a top quality youngster, like, and he's going to be something special." And he was. I don't know if it was down to Ferguson or if it was down to Ronaldo himself. You know, Ferguson definitely played a part, but he just became something else that the world's never seen before. Like.
Yeah, I could agree. I would say, and Ronaldo's come out publicly and said that Fergie is his father in football world, and you've seen that I think at the Euros where Fergie literally sat and waited, and I think this was after Fergie's accident.
Yes.
Where Fergie was sitting waiting and then hugged it. So it was for me, even as a football, even not as a United fan, but it was as a Ronaldo fan, it was quite good to see. It was quite emotional. So I would say that a lot. I think Ronaldo said it publicly. A lot of his success does come down to Fergie kneeling him down and not letting him get too big egoed, which I think he ended up being at Madrid. I think he was the ego in the changing room, which he had every right to be. He was still is, in my opinion, the best in the world. But so bringing it back, what would be the earliest memory of him, as I say, in the United shirt in a match, like in the sense that his goals or his contribution or his fancy flicks and his moves, in that sort of sense. What would be your earliest memory of seeing Ronaldo batter England? Like I can remember the sense where I remember him starting to go, "Shit, this guy's is here to play."
There's no specific match. I can remember the season. Obviously, there was that season that he kicked off, and that was the first season I properly started watching football. Before then, obviously, like I did watch casually because, I knew all the players, and Wayne Rooney, Ronaldo has always been my two favorite players. Back when I was younger. But I can't narrow it down. There's so many things that the kid could do. Like there's too many. The fancy flicks, the free kicks. Free kicks. That's one free kick against Portsmouth. I'll put that one out because that was a top quality free kick.
Yeah, that's a free kick. That's exactly was the next question. Was obviously like, Robbie, your Ronaldo, your favorite Ronaldo goal at United. Obviously, I was going to exclude the Portsmouth one because, well, I think when you write the stats behind it, the ball was traveling nearly 90 mile
Hmm.
an hour, and to get it up and over the wall that quick, and David James is sitting there. I think David James came out publicly and said a few years. He's like, by the time he blinked, the ball wasn't behind him in the net. So, um, yeah. So excluding that Portsmouth goal, and you could probably say excluding the one against Arsenal, that free kick where the
That's
commentator
it.
famously said, "I don't think Ronaldo would test it from here."
Yeah, that's the next one.
What other two? Yeah, what other two would you go for? Because that's the first two when you think free kicks. That's the first two you think when Ronaldo was in the United shirt, was the Arsenal one, because the commentator publicly said to him. But yeah, so what would be your other from them two? What's your probably your favorite Ronaldo goal?
Um, I've got a couple. We were very famous for our counterattacks on the free after the corners. Now there was a lot of goals of him and Rooney and just ran up the pitch and tore the defence apart. But I think one that stands out for me is that goal against I can't remember. I think it was Porto. It wasn't Sporting Lisbon. I think it was Porto,
Oh,
and that
that's the one where you
yeah,
nailed it
I
from
think
about
that won the
40 yards out.
Puskas award that year.
Yeah, that was Damon. But I don't understand how a man can have such a deadly right foot, and there's quite a lot of hell of a lot of good right footer footballers out in the world. So yeah, that was frightening. That's a good one. So, um, we'll bring it back then sort of to the end of the Fergie era. How was the reaction when I think Fergie came out publicly and said halfway through the season that it was going to be his last? Um, I know as me it was quite, even for me it was quite like, wow, this is an end of an era. So for as a United fan, how did you react? Try and put it into emotions of when Fergie announced it. How did you
I
feel?
remember he announced it, and he did it purposely. It was so perfect the way he planned this out. I think it was City had just won their first trophy. They won the FA Cup. I think it was their first trophy in like 40 odd years or whatever it was. And City were celebrating their FA Cup victory, and then I think it was the next day Ferguson came out and said he's retiring, and that just took all the attention off Man City and all the attention on Ferguson, which he's mastermind at doing these things. Like he's done it all as a player.
Yeah,
But I remember he came out retired, and I just say like these next, and we're still in these years. These next few years are it's going to be not the same. We're not going to be the same team as we were these last 20 odd years, and we're still trying to build back up. But it's hard. Like it's no man could ever replace Ferguson.
no, I don't think anybody ever will. It's what he did to football and what he did for United and what he did for
If you
England,
if you think about it, like he
I
won
don't.
titles with the likes of Tom Cleverley and Anderson in midfield. When Paul Scholes and was retired at that stage, and Michael Carrick was injured or whatever. And I remember very vividly that FA Cup game against Arsenal. I think it was like 2008 or something. We had John O'Shea and Raphael in the midfield, and we still managed to beat them. Like it's he can put these things in the players' minds that they can do whatever they want. Like Dan Fletcher and Ji Sung Park or Unsung Heroes at United with the things they done.
Yeah, he was. I think what you said there was perfect. He always had that in the dressing room. He always seemed to give you the belief that you could take on the world and win. Like, I think it was a testimonial match. I don't know if it was who it was at United's, and he was sitting in the changing room. And even for me, I'm getting goosebumps now even thinking about it. But as a football fan, he was just sitting in the changing room, and he was just giving all the
Yeah,
players stick. Like, it was just like he never left, and it was for me. It was quite even for me, it was emotional to watch. And I don't think you'll ever see a football manager dominate football like that again. That because you would need to be quite young, and you need to have that
yeah.
sort of that killer instinct that Fergie had. But we forgot to talk about the Champions League. So you haven't been in it for a few years now. Well, it was it 2 years now?
Yeah,
A
2
year?
years.
Yeah, 2 years. You won it last season. 2 years because you won the Europa League. So, let's bring it back to where it all sort of the Champions League began, which was all United winning the Champions League. Do you have a memory of that where you were watching it, how you were watching it, your emotions of when you win it, the famous JT slip, sort of all that? If you can elaborate on
Yeah,
all that for us.
I watched that whole season of the Champions League, and I think that was the season that Ronaldo scored that awesome them amazing goals against Porto and Sporting Lisbon, and then it came to Moscow,
Yeah,
and we had an unbelievable team. We had that front three of Tevez, Ronaldo, and Rooney, and then we had the likes Yeah, like Berbatov as well. He was in our Super Sub and stuff at the time. And, that front three was just unbelievable going through that Champions League. But I remember watching that Champions League at home with my dad, like, and it was like 1 o'clock or something in Moscow, but obviously it was our like normal time over at home, and
Yeah,
it was a nerve-wracking match. I'll tell you. The first goal we got was a good goal by Ronaldo. We crossed from West Brown, header in by Ronaldo, just jumped over Michael Essien, I think it was, or Ashley Cole, one or the other.
I think it was I had
Yeah,
Ashley
it
Cole
was
in my
one or the
head.
other. He can jump over anything, that man. But then like after that goal, we couldn't get another. Tevez came so close to scoring another, and I think Michael Carrick hit the post, and we just couldn't get that second goal. And then coming up the second half, Frank Lampard gets that goal. Fucking Van der Sar slips in the rainy nights in Moscow. Frank Lampard gets that goal, and then the game's on again. Like it's very even. And I think Chelsea came out that second
Mm-hmm.
half the better team. Um, and we just had to grit through it and push on, and then went at the extra time, and everyone's getting tired, everyone's getting cramp. And then, of course, Dieter Drogba slaps Vidic and gets sent off, so that was massively. I can't really remember much about extra time, to be honest. I can't remember if we ever came close to scoring or not, because that Champions League final was obviously just, it's all about the penalty shootout and what happened in that penalty shootout and John Terry slip. That's what everyone remembers.
Yeah, I think that takes the spotlight away from me in that sense that it was the JT slip that gave us the trophy. But um, yeah, it was good to elaborate on that sort of sense because I don't think you well, in my opinion, you'll never have them days again because with Fergie, I'll never forget the Fergie, the retirement. He's walking out of Old Trafford. I think he's played West Brom and he's drew 5-5. Was his last
Um,
game?
yeah, no, the last game
Was
at
it
Old
West Brom?
Trafford was Swansea and we lifted the title, but then our last ever game was West Brom. I was away. It
And
was
it was
5-0
5
was a
all.
mad game. Mad.
Yeah, it was but it was a nice game to send him out. Obviously, I knew he would have wanted to go out and win. Any manager would, but I think, as I say, from the fan perspective, it was nice to see him smiling in the dugout for that last time. But yeah, as we're coming to an end of Fergie's era, this is something that I think, in my opinion, we should have a chat about. So I don't think, as you know yourself, and I think every football fan knows, Fergie didn't make a lot of mistakes in his life, in
Mhm.
his career. But I think his biggest mistake was his successor
Yeah.
at United. So I want to basically talk about what was your reaction when Fergie announced that Moisey was going to come in and take over the job. Um, how did you feel at the time, and when we'll go on to elaborate what happened with Moisey and how he was a great success at
I
United.
great success. Good word there. I remember that summer. There were so many different stories going about. Obviously, because Ferguson's just retired, who's going to replace him? You obviously had all your big managers, where like the Mourinho, the Klopp, and the Guardiola. Three were linked the heaviest, I
Mm.
think. And I think at the time, I really wanted Guardiola because he was free at the time. He had left Barcelona before he went to Bayern Munich, and then there's Klopp. Even though he's the Liverpool manager now, I've always really liked Klopp. He plays really nice football. And he was still at Borussia
Yeah,
Dortmund at the
it
time.
is. It's
Um, so yeah, that would have been nice. And then there was obviously Mourinho, who eventually got, but we're not talking about that right now. David Moyes came in and disappointed. Um, but Ferguson handpicked him himself, and I'm saying, right, he's got to do something right then if Ferguson's picking him. And David Moyes was a good manager for everyone. Like he got them, I think it was like top four, top five, couple seasons in a row or something. It wasn't top four, it wasn't top five because it's four
mm,
was solid.
he he did he got Everton in the top. He got Everton in the fourth. For one of the first time in their history, or the first time in like maybe 20 years. So Moisey did have a good reputation. He definitely did, and I even thought when he was coming in, like he wasn't
No.
a United manager, but he was a manager in my opinion that could have done a wee bit. But this is the next question. Do you think the team that Fergie left was a team that was dying? So do you think Fergie left them a team that was rotted out from the core? There was no passion in the dressing room. Do you think Moisey's first task for me would have been gutting that changing room out and bringing his own players in. So the question is, do you think Fergie left him a team that was rotted and didn't really want to be at the club anymore because
Yeah,
for the
that's
sole
that's
purpose
the
of Fergie
difference
had
with the
left?
managers. Ferguson left that team, and that team won the Premier League, and they seemed like we were world beaters and all. But then Moisey came in the next season, we just lost everything. And that's the difference in Moisey and Fergie. Still had the likes of Van Persie and Rooney and all, and Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs and De Gea, Ferdinand, Vidic, Evra. That back three was solid for years. They played together for so many seasons, won the Champions League together. But then, they're obviously getting on their stage, and David Moyes comes in, and then they're getting old a bit. But the season after they left, anyway. So, but yeah, that's a difference. But if Ferguson was there, he would still made them world beaters.
Yeah. So Moisey comes in. Do you think that changing room sees David Moyes comes in and goes, "Wow, I'm not playing for him. He's useless," or do you think I think there was only maybe through a handful of players you could have picked in that dressing room and that was maybe thinking we'll play for him and see how it goes, or do you think a lot of players had turned their back on Moyes before he even came anywhere near the change room to give them a prep talk or to talk
I
over
think at that
position?
time, the players would have played for the badge. Um, I definitely think that. And I remember Van Persie actually saying that he didn't like training under Moyes. His training methods were off, and Van Persie didn't enjoy it. And that's probably the same with a lot of other players. I think Hernandez
Hmm.
actually, interestingly enough, came out very recently and came out and absolutely brutalised him, like in the press, saying he just was not a good manager for them at the time or whatever. I can't remember exactly the quotes he said, but he didn't give him praise at all. And this is Javier Hernandez we're talking about.
Yeah, well, Chicharito was always was that famous sub United always brought on, and he always famously scored goals in the last dying seconds. So, yeah, I would agree with you to bring it back to Moyes. I think that a lot of players didn't like him, nor
Mm-hmm.
did they want to play under him. The only sort of player I think maybe was maybe half an influence in that change room was Rooney, obviously because of the caliber he was, and I think he ended up becoming a skipper. I think at that time, Frank Moisey was made him captain. I think. Um, so yeah, well then to talk about Moyes that season and Moyes, I don't think he
No,
lasted too long. But just elaborate sort of like as the season goes in three stages. You got your start of the season, winter, and then the end of the season. Um, how would you judge Moisey on his signings? And obviously, would not go with his results because his results weren't great. But how would you judge Moisey on his signings alone from that sort of sense
I
compared to
hated
Fergie?
that summer listening to all the transfer gossip because we were linked to every bloody player in the world. It still goes on today. We're linked to every player in the world. But this is the first summer that we had this. And we were linked to the likes of Cesc Fabregas, and I thought we were really going to get Cesc Fabregas at the time. It was really exciting. Linked to the likes of Cesc Fabregas, Thiago Alcantara, Sergio Ramos. All the top caliber players. And then
Mhm.
we go through it the whole summer. I haven't signed a single person, and this is when the panic buy starts to set in, and you end up panic buying Fellaini. Who, don't get me wrong, had a good season under Moyes. He's a good player for Everton, but I just don't think he was good enough to play in that midfield of United.
Yeah, I agree. I think exactly what you said. I think when Fellaini came in, he was literally a panic buy. I don't. He was never a United player. Like now, when I compare when you compare it to like who played that position previously before him would have been like Scalzi or Keno, and you look and you go Fellaini. So United always had that general in midfield, and I don't think they'll ever get it back ever. As you say, when Fellaini came in, I'm sitting going, "This isn't the general they need. This is horrendous." And I think, as you can admit, he became
Yeah,
a laughing stock that
he was
season.
solely
So
used just for his height. Like he had
I
no
think.
he had donkey feet. He couldn't control the ball. He couldn't pass the ball. He was just in getting the box
Yeah.
and score a couple of headers, and he did it well under Van Gaal a couple of times, and it was the plan
Yeah.
B for them. But it's not the plan B you really want to have.
Yeah, no, I agree. He was definitely a punt. He was Route One football. Big Sam would have loved him. He was Route One football. Um, but I would say like for United sense, I think something mental like there before for Moisey came in, I think I had it written down here, 13 teams that season had never won at Old
Yeah,
Trafford. I think 10 of them did, and we were one of them, quite ironically. So Old Trafford was always a
and
fortress
then
under
Moisey came
Fergie.
in.
What do you think there was a yeah? Do you think there was a disconnection between the fans and Moyes, or do you think there was what's going on with United now? Do you think there's still a disconnection between them and
I
the
think the
board?
board's always been an issue. The board was an issue during Fergie's era, but Ferguson was putting results on the table and winning titles, so it was never a major issue. It was only when Ferguson left it became a major issue because, if you look at all the top teams, they
Mhm.
all have a board of directors. We still don't have it. Under Ferguson did need it. Ferguson made all decisions himself. Him and David Gill, they were a good force. So they obviously made mistakes, but for the major part, they made a lot of good choices. The board has always been an issue,
Yeah,
and we still don't have a board of directors, up above us to help us. But I don't think, I think the fans were
yeah.
also
So
they weren't in connection with David Moyes as much as the manager and fans should be.
yeah, so we'll bring it on then. As I say, but Moisey that season he's finished sixth.
Seventh,
I think he's run the
yeah.
Champions League is seventh. You got put out of the Champions League. I think you got put out wasn't the round of 16. You didn't make it past
We
that. I don't
we
even know
got
who's got
beat
out of
by
the
Bayern Munich
qualifiers.
in the quarterfinal.
That's right. Yes, that
Yeah,
famous Evra,
because we
unbelievable
the
screamer from the
first the
outside. I
first
remember that now.
the
Yes.
first round of 16 game we were
Um.
playing Olympiacos away, and we actually got beat 2-0. And then the second, Percy had to score a hat trick to get us back in there. And then we played Bayern Munich at home, drew 1-1, which is a decent result. And then we went away and got battered 3-1.
Yeah. Well, that was so Moisey finished seventh, and he's don't win. There's no trophies. There's nothing. I think for
Mm-hmm.
Manchester that was something new. And then we sort of fast forwarded on to Moisey getting sacked, and then funny enough, Van Gaal comes in. Again, as I said with Moisey, what was the reaction between Van Gaal coming in and Moyes? Because I know Van Gaal, I'm not gonna lie, I knew very, very little about him. I knew he was the
Yeah, I'm the
Dutch,
same. Yeah, I'm the
obviously
same.
did well with the Dutch. Yeah. So obviously, just your reaction then, did you just think, oh shit, I don't know anything about him, or did you go, well,
Yeah. No,
this could be
I
good, or
remember David
what?
Moyes getting sacked, and then after that, Ryan Giggs came in for about 4 or 5 games. And it was all up in the air because
Yeah.
it was very divided. Some people were saying keep on Giggs, give him a chance, and he's a United legend, and he could do something good like for the club. And then obviously other fans get some top caliber like. And to be fair, like Louis van Gaal, a good World Cup. His Dutch team were very well drilled. They played some nice football. You have obviously that famous Van Persie header from
And
yeah,
then bringing Tim Krul on
bringing Tim Krul
in
on,
the penalties.
the legend himself, 7 penalties, which was an absolute masterclass in Louis van Gaal side.
Yeah, it was a bit of a madness. I'll never forget that. But so Van Hal, this is the point where I never got. Van Hal comes in, and I think the first year under the Prem, I think he finishes fifth or sixth, but he does go on to win
I
usually
think
an
it was
FA Cup.
the second season he won a FA
For
Cup.
me, I know was it. Sorry. So the first season he finishes fifth and he doesn't win any trophies. So the second season he comes in and wins the FA Cup. For me, this is the point where I don't get as the bigger clubs. Your manager goes and wins you a trophy, but yet you're retaliating against him and giving him gup. I understand United's way is always play nice football and win and batter teams. It's never going to be like that again. I'm trying to get to the point where because I can understand as a Newcastle fan, if Stevie Bruce won us the FA Cup this year, I would get him knighted. I'd tell him to get a statue outside St James's Park. I would do anything to see Newcastle in
Yep.
my era lift a cup. Why did Van Gaal get treated so unfairly after winning the
I
FA
think it
Cup?
was because Jose Mourinho came available, and Jose Mourinho's been linked with United for years, and the board were just like, he's a born winner. We all thought. I remember when Jose Mourinho came in, we all thought that we were going to win the league that season because that's what he does. He's done it in different countries. He's done it with Inter,
Mhm.
Porto, Chelsea, and it was Real Madrid to a certain point. So I think even though Louis van
Yeah.
Gaal did us win the FA Cup, I know it was good to get a trophy, but there were still issues. We weren't playing the greatest of football. I think we did finish. I think we finished fifth that season under Louis van Gaal.
Yeah, fifth
Um,
out. Fifth,
and,
yeah.
even playing the greatest football, he made a lot of bad signings. Di Maria, Falcao, the likes of them. So I think they just want to get a born winner in Jose Mourinho. And even though I think he was treated unfairly because he did win the FA Cup, and even Wayne Rooney came out and said it. I don't know why Wayne Rooney said this, but Wayne Rooney said he's the best manager he's ever worked under. Which, for the life of me, I can't understand why he said that. Like, obviously, had their problems.
Yeah, that was the point I never got because I'm always looking at it from the as a it's hard for me to say this, but as a mid-table club, um, that really did hurt to say. Um, as a Newcastle fan looking in, you're sitting going, we would we would kill to have half of this, like, and you're always like, I'm in probably 100 Newcastle fan groups, and we were all saying at the time like, will we take him? This is unfair. Well, he couldn't win us a cup, and obviously he didn't have the money, he didn't have the backing. Obviously, but he would have had a United. So I agree that I do think he was unfair, but just because Mourinho was available, like I understand the United board do make very controversial decisions, and Ed Woodward has been criticised for the last 4 years. So yeah, I was just trying to get your opinion there on Van Gaal because I didn't think it was fair, and as I say, looking from the inside or the outside in, it was quite harsh on him. But hey ho, it is just football at the end of the day. So yeah, the next point then is a special one. I want you just as you say, just because it is recent enough. Well, even I have the fresh memories of him. Just give me your emotions of the day he was announced. What were your expectations was of that season, and what you thought of
Is
some of
this,
the
is this Jose Mourinho we're
signings
talking
as
about,
well?
or Van Gaal still?
The
Mourinho.
special one, yeah,
I
still
remember.
Mourinho.
I remember when he came in, and all United fans were very excited. He's done it with Chelsea, as I said before. He's a born winner, and he came in and straight off the bat, he signed Pogba and Zlatan, were two fantastic. At the time, I'll say at the time, fantastic signings. Because Pogba had been obviously he was brought up a United player and he went to Juventus and he grew and flourished at Juventus.
Yeah,
Zlatan's done it all, country, scored so many different goals. And I remember when Zlatan came in, though, I said, he was amazing in the French league, but can he do it in the Premier League? That's the one question I always had about him. And I think he would have reached 30 goals, I think, but then he got injured.
yeah, he was. He's quite
Yeah.
old. He was always going to have a strain on him. Just to give you a quick question about Pogba. So I am quite a fan of Pogba. I do think he has the caliber on his day whenever he's in that mood to turn a game, flick it upside down, like the best players can do. Do you think it was quite clear when Fergie sold him that he wasn't in Fergie's eyes good enough, nor was he had the
Yeah.
mentality to succeed at United? Do you think that was a big red flag when you signed him back, going, well, if Fergie
Yeah.
didn't like him, why was signing him again? Or do you think just because based on his performances at Juve that you were going, well, if you can do it in Serie A,
Mm-hmm.
can I do it with us in the Prem under Mourinho?
I think he brought Paul Scholes back out of retirement because we were short in midfielders. He brought Paul Scholes back out of retirement instead of playing Paul Pogba. And I think that's the definitive reason why Paul Pogba left. Because he felt mistreated or whatever happened behind that closed doors. I'm not really too sure, obviously. And then obviously he went to Juventus first, and then he came back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, fucking Pogba, like, he can be a world beater on his day, and he's shown it. He scored some unbelievable goals, but then he's very controversial as well. Some of the things he says and the way he plays, and he's been out for so long, injured at the minute. You're thinking, is he staying out injured because he doesn't want to play under Solskjaer, or is he just absolutely injured? Because you obviously have Liverpool players who come back from fractures and stuff a lot earlier than Pogba is.
Yeah, I do think he's been very well nurtured, but yeah, no, I just wanted to get your opinion on Pogba because
Yeah,
I do rate him quite highly, but as I say, I think he's
I
got
am.
that quality
I'll
where it's not
try
going
back
his
every
way.
player at United,
Yeah.
obviously, but I'm so mixed on because he can pull it out of the bag. But like that, see, like the later stage of this, but we played pretty well. And McTominay and Fred have been doing really well. And I don't think I've missed Rashford, or not Rashford, Pogba. I haven't missed Pogba in the slightest. And then with Bruno Fernandes coming in, that midfield three looks solid now. And it's just like if Pogba comes in, who's he going to replace?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he won't make your money back on him for a start, but he is. He's a player, I agree, that can turn the game with a flick of a switch. He has got that quality. He's a beast. He's a big boy. For me, when you signed him, I thought that's the
Yeah.
general United needed back in midfield, a big bully. But well, as you know, it didn't really work out for him. But to bring it back then to Jose, I want to get your opinion on this. We'll go back, obviously, talk about the start of the season, but just wanted to get Jose Mourinho has come out publicly and said quite a few times that his greatest success in his career was
Yeah.
getting United to second. Can you elaborate on that point of why Jose Mourinho said that? Because he has achieved
Hmm.
massive things in football. But I just want to get your opinion on: do you agree with him? Do you think he's just blowing that out of proportion to make
I
himself
remember he
that
came out and
ego of
said
his
that.
bigger?
Under those Mourinho, I think under those years of Mourinho, even though we finished second one season, it's not. It's always the bad times. Remember under Mourinho, and I remember when he said that, saying he finished second. I thought he was fucking crazy. Um, but I can now, a couple of years, seasons later, a couple of years after, I can understand where the hell he came from. Because if you look at like the players we had, there were some world beaters like in that team, but they just, I don't know what it was. They could never click. If there's always something going on in the dressing room.
Yeah,
Pogba and Mourinho was never getting on. Mourinho was always causing bad press, saying things in the press conferences, and he did do really well to get that team to second. But then the season after, it all fell apart again. I don't know. It's so much controversy. All the bad press he was saying, all the negative comments he was saying about the United players. I think the United players turned against them.
yeah. So, do you think it was too many big egos at the time? Because in that dressing room there was massive egos. Like you had Pogba, you had, I think Rooney was still floating about at
He
that
was
stage,
he
or did he
played he
move to
played
LA
one
or
season.
Washington at that stage?
I think it was one season under Mourinho.
Yeah. You had Ibra in that changing room, you had Pogba in that changing room, you had Waza in that changing room. There's three massive egos, and I know you can tell by Ibra sort of like there's a aura around him that when he comes into
Yeah,
the changing room, he thinks it's his changing room. So do you think that was what led to Mourinho's downfall? Do you think there was too many big egos in the club at the time going, well, this is going to backfire on us or backfire on him, or do you think that Mourinho was trying to manage a dressing room that was dying in a sense, that
yeah.
didn't
I
want
think
to be under the
the
club
big Eves
anymore?
definitely does come into question. But I always think about like what happened to Chelsea. The same thing happened to Chelsea. He done so well his first stint at Chelsea. Comes
Yeah,
in second stint. I think he wins. I think he finished third in his first season. Wins the title in the second, and then it all fell. Did he win the title back
won
to
the back
back?
to back. He won the title back to back with Chelsea. He was 3 years in Chelsea. His third
Yeah,
year, he won
that was his
4 years
first
in
stint, wasn't
Chelsea,
it?
and he won the first, second, third
Yeah,
back.
I was on about his second one
Yeah.
there. Did he win it back to back?
Oh, right. Sorry.
Um, so
Yeah.
I think he finished third,
I so
won the
yeah.
title, and then the third season half fell apart. And I can't really. Chelsea might have had some big egos, and Petr Cech, John Terry, Eden Hazard is just a big ego. So you don't know what happened in their changing room, and then he comes over United.
Yeah.
And, the first two seasons are about the first season's a bit rocky. I think we finished sixth, but won the Europa League, so that's a good achievement. Finished second, and the third season all fell apart. I think it was building over years. Pogba and him never got on. You've seen videos of them not arguing, but the words being exchanged in the training ground. And then I remember when actually Jose Mourinho got sacked. The first thing Pogba did was post on Twitter saying "caption this" and deleted it very soon after. So I think Mourinho was just losing the dressing room at that point with all the negative comments, and because he battered Luke Shaw as well for ages, and he never played Mkhitaryan. Just all these things were adding up.
Yeah. In regard to the Luke Shaw situation, when you signed him, I think he signed up at 30 million. At that time, I think he might still be the highest
No, I
valued
think Theo
left back. I don't
Hernandez
think he
is
is
now.
anymore. But yeah, when you sign Luke Shaw, he was great at Southampton, and then he gets that horror injury I
Champions
think
League,
it was
yeah.
in the Champions League or the Europa League. He then becomes, well, what Mourinho, or what I think what even the press described him as is that, well, he was a bit chubby. But do you think that was? You never really go into a footballer's mind. Do you think that obviously the injury that Shaw had then drained his mentality enough? But do you think when his manager's coming out saying, he's getting a bit chubby, do you think and mentally that Luke Shaw was struggling with United or under Mourinho, or do you think that it was just, well, he had a horrific injury and
I
he
think it was a
just
bit of
couldn't get
both
back
because
to
it's
fitness?
not easy to come back from an injury like that, and some players just never do. They never recapture their form. So I think he was a double leg break he got.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a double. I think against PSV. Um,
Yeah, it was.
and he
Yeah,
was playing so well for us that season. Or Louis van Gaal, he was running up and down that wing, and then he came down in the second season. And he got that horrific injury, and then he was out for ages, and he struggled to get back into that team. And then Jose Mourinho came along and was, he was bothering him in the press, saying bad things about him, and he could never get going.
yeah, yeah. So I want to obviously talk about Ollie as well, but we'll finish it up in the Mourinho era. If you were to, I'm going to just get a quick description of before we go on to talk about Ollie, excluding Fergie, rate rate seasons and managers by performance and your opinion from Mourinho, Van Gaal. Could you put
Yeah.
Giggsy in there? I wouldn't give him that unfair justice. I would probably just between Moisey, Mourinho, and Van Gaal, and Ollie now, put them in order of what you think is did a great job or is doing a great job, or you never want to see back in the dugout at United again. Sort of the last
It's
one.
because Wally's the manager at the minute, and before obviously the season was halted to a standstill because of the virus and everything. We were playing some really
The
nice football.
Corona.
We've had a rocky time under Ollie. I remember when Ollie first came in. I think we won like 8 of our 11. We went 11 games unbeaten. Won 8 of them or something, or 9 of them. Unbelievable, like, for Ollie to come in and do that. When Ollie came in, the players lifted. So
Yeah.
even though it's been rocky, I think I've seen some of the best football and enjoyed some of the best results under Ollie because he's beat City twice in one season. I don't think we haven't done that since Ferguson.
Yeah.
So I put Ollie first, and then it's a mix up between Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho because on one side you got Louis van Gaal. It was never negative. It was just about boring football. The FA Cup, he got us fourth, and then on the other hand, Jose Mourinho won us Europa League. When it's finished second, in fairness, there was always that negativity brought. So I think I'll put. It's hard. Like I'm gonna put Mourinho second because of the Europa League, and because some of the
Okay.
players he brought in were good signings compared to Louis van Gaal's. I think all Louis van Gaal's were panic buys, and his signings were bad. So Joey Mourinho and then Louis van Gaal, and the David Moyes last because he just had a horrific season and he made terrible signing, except for Juan Mata. Juan Mata was a good season or a good signing. We'll give him that.
Yeah, Mata I think is quite an influential leader in the change room now. So, yeah, no, I just want to get your opinion. So we're going to talk about Ollie now. Before I want you to listen to this. So I've asked every one of my friends, including yourselves, if you've known this. How does it Ollie go from managing a team in the Norwegian League to fourth to getting relegated to Cardiff to getting a Manchester United job? His careers went the opposite direction to what it should have went. I want to get your opinion on how the hell that's happened because you can bother me on this, and I don't rate him as a manager because I understand he's doing well now. I understand maybe he was on the change room at that stage, but explain to me, other from he's a United legend, I can understand that he scored the famous goal in '99 to win the Champions League. Other from that, there's no qualities that you can that put Ollie anywhere near the bracket of a Manchester United manager. Why does he get the
I
United
remember when
job?
we first
Other
announced him,
from
I
the
was pretty
fact that he's a club
surprised. I
legend.
was surprised at first that Ollie was given the job because I think he did win the Norwegian League with Molde, and then he went to Cardiff, got relegated, and then he went back to Molde again, and I think he finished second 2 seasons in a row in Molde. Norwegian League, you can't really judge it. I don't know what it's like over there. And he came to United. I was surprised, and we got off to a great start. But I think the reason that obviously we all love him because he's a United legend, but he's trying to bring United back to what they were. He's bringing up the youth. He's using like Brandon Williams. Greenwood. Greenwood is going to be a world beater, I think, in the future. Look at Rashford's
I agree with
performances.
that.
Rashford
Yeah, I
has
agree
been
with that.
unbelievable under Ollie compared to Mourinho. I think he scored. I think under Ollie, he's got like 50. I think he's like 28 goals or 58 goals or whatever. Some Uh, in a very short number of games, where compared to the same number of goals under Mourinho, but he's like 100 and something games under Mourinho, which is it's a very bad goal game. He's playing a lot better. I think he needs to get rid of a
Yeah.
bit more dead wood in the likes of like Lingard and Pereira. And he's done that in terms of Phil Jones. He's done that in terms he got rid of Young and Smalling. He's getting rid of dead wood. I don't think any of the matches have done that. He's made he made this season fantastic. There, you know, I've always said I don't think he'll bring us to winning the treble. I don't think he can do that. But if he can bring us back to what we were, and I will back him until like the day. But I think if he can do that, then it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, so like when he came in, I think he came in and he's went on a bit of a mad one. I think he's obviously the famous Champions League one against PSG. He's ended up going, I think, he had unbeaten in the league, and he's finished, I think, 5th or 6th at that stage. So I can agree, and at that point, even he started to prove me wrong now currently. But at that stage, even I was going, it's like every manager that comes in, every player playing well because they want to impress. I think is he going to be here for a while? So yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on him because he's not. When you compare him to United managers, you always compare United managers to quite boys that have been
except Matt Busby.
Yeah, well, like it is unfair to go and compare them to Fergie. Even I can agree. I think everyone knows it. You can't compare any manager to Fergie. Even Mourinho himself, like Mourinho and Pep, are really the only two in the world now that can challenge him in stats in regard to trophies. So, I think it is unfair to compare any manager that comes into United and compare them to Fergie. But it's naturally going to happen because most fans now have grown up with Fergie. But yeah, I think I just wanted to hear your opinion on Ollie because in regard to Ollie's signings, his standard of football, and the other question I wanted to ask is, do you think Ollie has that connection between the board, himself, and the fans that should always contribute to a football club? Do you think he has that?
100%. The fans are fully behind him. I think the fans love him and always will love him. But also there's that minority who every fan base has. And the board, I haven't had too many rumblings from the board, but I think we still need a board of directors above us, to help them. Because if you look at the big clubs, they always have them. They're helping the managers with their signings, and I think we still need to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think definitely has a connection with the fans, 100%.
No, that's well. At the end of the day, that's how a football club should run. Is definitely a fan base between the manager and the club themselves. So I agree that if you think he has at United, then may have many successive years. It's not nice to have any sort of manager get it to boot. At the end of the day, losing a job. But yeah, well, obviously I bring it back as I said. I just wanted to get to talk about Ollie. So a couple of I asked Tim the same question, and I asked Curtis the same question. As you know, Newcastle are currently in negotiations with getting bought over. For 300 million, could possibly rise to 350 by a consortium of three people, mainly Mohammed bin Salman, who's will be at the time of we get it the richest owner in the world. But I could rant and rave about that for a while. But I'm going to ask the same question I asked the other two lads: are you threatened by this, in the sense that do you think Newcastle will? Obviously, we're not going to take the world by storm within 2 years. It'll be a project, but are you threatened by this? Do you feel this is another horse that's going to enter the top 6 or the top 4 and dominate like City and Liverpool are doing? And obviously with the right questions, the right decisions to be made. But are you threatened?
See,
by
if you had
Newcastle
asked me this question, a couple of years ago when Ferguson was still manager, I would have said no, because everything are a wee bit down the pecking order now. I wouldn't be first at the first because it'll take them a few years to kick on and get the right players and the right players to gel. But if they become another Wolves or another Leicester, another City, that teams are starting to come up, And yes, this top six it's getting very tight now. There's a lot of teams contesting for that top six, and if Newcastle come in, that's just another club to add to it.
Yeah.
So I think every club should feel the pressure because it used to be top four, top three, years ago. Now it's going to be seven, top eight.
Yeah, no, I did. I always wanted it because you and Tim were the only two that really have sort of. Curtis said they weren't threatened as a Chelsea fan. He said that publicly. He wasn't threatened. But it is hard for me to stand here not excited because, well, if it happens, it'll be the richest club in the world. But yeah, well, I might die before that happens. To be honest, the way the Premier League are acting. But yes, no, I just wanted to get your opinion on it. So we'll close it up. So we'll do the rest of the lads. All I want you to do is name your best United 11 from you've seen live, from you've seen on TV. Just basically your best 11. It can be from the 50s the whole way to now. Just name. You can play any formation you want and just go on and rant and rave, whatever. Why you pick them if you want. You don't have to.
Right.
But,
well,
yep. Just go on ahead and nail it out there.
Positions that are definitely pinned down, and I'll leave the other positions that I'm still deciding to last. So, there's two choices there: Dennis Irwin or Patrice Evra. But I never really got to see Dennis Irwin play, so I'm going to go with Patrice Evra. And then I'm going to partner that up with Vidic and Ferdinand because that's just that solid three that played years together and years, won multiple titles. So I'll keep that in front three, and then I'll leave my right back for a wee bit. I know, and the goalkeeper.
You just repeat that back.
What is it, sorry?
Audio just a wee bit went on us, sir. You just repeat the three players you just picked there now because the audio just went.
So the left back was Evra, and the two centre backs were Vidic and Ferdinand. And then I'll say my right back now.
Continue.
So you've also got the choice between. I'll pick my two main candidates. Gary Neville, of course, is going to be there because he's a United legend, and I'm going to throw Wan-Bissaka in there, even though he only joined this season. But I have not seen a tackler of the ball like him since probably Maldini. So it's between them two, and you could go with Gary Neville because of his leadership qualities. But I might be completely wrong because I missed his glory days, his prime days. But when I watched him through the later stages of his career, he didn't look like the best right back in the world. I don't think he ever was claimed as the best right back in the world. He was just a really good leader, and he had that team hit pinned down. But he was very injury prone towards the end of his career. So I'm gonna go Wan-Bissaka as a wee surprise through in there.
Yeah.
People might not like that, but I love Wan-Bissaka. Okay. I love him to bits.
Yeah.
So I'll throw him in there, and then I'm gonna start with my left. I'm gonna start with my field from the left side to the right, 4-4-2. So I'm gonna throw obviously easy one. Ryan Giggs is gonna be there, slot in nicely. He's going to slot in beside Keno and Scholesy. Yeah, Keno.
Wow,
Keno didn't make it.
So Roy Keane doesn't make it?
And then the right is going to be Ronaldo.
Sorry.
Yeah, and then the front two is going to be
standard
Wayne Rooney and Eric Cantona.
Okay. So quite a lot. So this is a flat 4-2.
So the keeper between three of them.
Goalkeeper, did you pick De Gea or Schmeichel?
I have the hardest choice here between any of the other lads because I've Schmeichel, Van der Sar, and De Gea, who all have been 3 number ones at some stage in their careers, like. But I didn't get to see Schmeichel play, but I knew he was such a player. My dad goes on about him all the time, and he hits us his favourite goalkeeper. And then you have Van der Sar. Van der Sar, the difference between Van der Sar and De Gea is that Van der Sar had that solid front four in front of him, where De Gea hasn't had that. He had that for like 2 seasons, maybe a season. But the saves De Gea's pulled off has just made me drop my jaw. Like, so I'm gonna put De Gea in there.
So, okay, wow, so De Gea, so you do, okay.
Very tough choice.
That's Schmeichel would have maybe in Van der Sar. So, yeah, so that's your flat. Yeah, it was quite tough. So, I do what I do with the rest of the lads. Other from Cheryl.
Can I just pick one of them?
One of them boys with a Newcastle player.
No.
No, that's not how not how this segment works. You have to pick one. You
Yeah,
can't. I
Shearer's the
always
easy
exclude
choice.
Shearer because Shearer will fit into anybody because he's in my the best. But anybody you can
Yeah,
replace anybody. I know it's
I think
quite
the other two
hard,
lads
but
were Shay Given, didn't they?
hey ho, it's just the ending segment. Tim took
Okay.
Shea and Chris
I'm
took
going
Lauren
to go. I
Robert.
know he didn't play for Newcastle that long, but because I know he was a fantastic player, I'll go with Andy Cole over Cantona
Oh,
because he
wow,
was
okay, I'm a real Fallback guy.
obviously
Andy was
he's
he was a
United
good
player
player
as
for
well. He
us.
won the
I think
treble with
he
us,
did.
so he'll slot in. He'll
Yeah,
slot in
no,
nicely.
well, yeah, well,
Yeah, I
okay.
can't replace
So
Rooney.
who
I
replaced
can't. I
Cantona?
can't
Was
do
it?
it. Like Rooney's.
Yeah, well, Rooney's United's top ever goal scorer in history. Like he was. Thank God he left the Prem because I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie, us Newcastle fans hold on to very minimal, which is Shearer's record. So he was a player I
Well,
was worried
Harry
about,
Kane
but
might take
he's
over
not
that
need
from
to worry
Shearer.
about
You
him no
never
more.
know.
He's hit the pinnacle. But yeah, I mean, well, he'll get a move to Madrid or something, mate. He'll not stay. Don't worry. Shearer's record will stay in a long, long time until we start winning trophies and then up on it. But yes, Jordan, it's been an absolute pleasure. As I say, that's how I usually end. So, Jordan, if you want to
Yeah.
shout out your
Cheers for having.
socials or anything, mate, just plug away
No,
there,
I
sir.
don't really give a fuck about my socials. Good luck. Have fun. Stay safe.
Yes, you too, sir, and
Yes.
I will end up talking to you at a later point anyway. So, yes, guys, thanks very much. Just make sure you follow us, subscribe to the Irish Impulse Network, where myself and my other friend Connor have our own podcast, and he has his own. Follow us on Spotify, all major platforms, guys. We're on all of them. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, the Irish Mag, and the Irish Impulse Network. And yes, I will see you in the meantime.